Okay, welcome everybody. We're gonna be here commentating Jugoomba, since he's known for us in the West on Kuribo. Battle Network 6, Mega Man Run, Mega Man Battle Network 6, or Rockman EXE 6. Commentating with me, I have here Lurking.
Hey, so I am lurking SR. I also run BN6, and yeah, joined with Dallas, and I think one other runner, Komari, should be joining us in a little bit too.
Yes, he's currently not here. So Dallas EXE, just so you know, I run Battle Network 1 through 3, but I watch plenty, and I mean plenty of BN6 runs, so good.
さまざまな問題に立ち向かう物語になっており、文字通り電脳奏者として頑張って走り抜けていきます。で、このゲームを楽しんでいただき、そしてどのようなものか正しく伝えられるよう頑張りたいと思います。今回の目標タイムとしては一応2時間10分切りを掲げていますが、まあ、多分本番の緊張とかいろいろとあって、もちろん運要素もところどころ大きくなっておりますので、まあ、気楽に S29に走り抜けていけたらなと思っております。で、あと最後に一つ注意と言いますか、こちらの喋りの問題。
Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Komari. I'm a Battle Network speedrunner from Brazil, and I've done a lot of attempts of BN6.
That's a good way to phrase it. This game can be a bit ruthless when it comes to going for top times. But it should be fine. Jugoomba, we're gonna be calling him Jugoomba instead of Kuribo. Hope that's okay with you guys. Has done a lot of runs. He's been practicing a lot lately as well. I truly believe that even if his luck is not the best, he can still put up a good show.
Yes, for sure. Since last year, he has done a lot of BN6 attempts. And even though his estimate is a 215, he's super confident about getting a sub 210 today, which is a really good time. So yeah.
Yeah, so sub 210 in general for most runners is it's a great PB time, but Jugoomba is one of the best Battle Network or EXE runners, so him getting out crazy times is kind of common for him.
Yes, he's become over the past 2 years a legend in the community, almost because of what such good times he's gotten in a couple of games, including BN3 and BN5, I believe.
Yeah, 3, 5, and 6. He has the record, and he's by far done so much to improve routes and got great times in all games.
He's just really consistent, and it's a really important part of in general, just being able to stay consistent throughout the whole run.
Shall we explain what the Battle Network series is while he's doing the tutorial?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. So Battle Network is a deck building kind of turn-based action RPG. It's kind of very unique battle system. As you can see, he's put on a grid where he picks chips, and then using the chips he has to delete the viruses on the other side, which are the enemies. And there's some basic combos that you can do with chips and how to strategically beat fights as fast as you can.
Right. There are some rules that apply that are gonna be quite important later on, and is that you can only pick chips that are either the exact same chip, even if it's different code, or depending on the code they have, which is a letter of the alphabet usually attached to it, or a star. You can pick multiple chips that are the same code, or there's the star code that can be picked with any other code, and that's important. Each one of them also has elements. Komari, if you will.
Yeah, chips also have elements, and Jugoomba is gonna make use of that, but not of the element chips, but rather of the elementless chips or no element chips later in this run. And also something that was introduced in BN4, and it was maintained through the whole second trilogy. That's how we call the 4, 5, and 6 games. is the full synchro, which Jugoomba just did there in the tutorial. When you counter a virus or an enemy in general, you gain full synchro, which doubles the attack of your next chip. It's a pretty cool mechanic, and we are gonna see more of that during the run.
So now you saw him, like, this is the first time in the run where we usually do folder edits. So what Jugoomba did is put Crackshot, which is a star-coded chip, which, you know, you can pick with any other chip, and also does 60 damage as a reg chip. So now in every fight he gets to, at least as long as that chip is regged, he will always draw it, so it helps a lot in the early game of just clearing any encounters that you get.
Which is really important because right now we need something to open that door. Right, Kumari?
Yes, we need a chip called Reflector 1. He might get it. That's very unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. It was a 50-50 there from an S rank. So he's gonna need to do another fight. This is very, very unfortunate.
Yes,
It
it's
is
very
very
uncommon.
uncommon for you
Yeah.
to get even an encounter that has the gunner in it, but also getting the gunner encounter and then getting the chip out of it is one of those things where, like, you never think about in normal runs because that's just an instant reset, but you know it always happens in marathon runs.
Quite
Yeah.
unfortunate.
He needs he's gonna need another chip later on, which is wait
Train error.
yeah, it's less likely for him to get the other one, but I mean, if he didn't get Reflector, he's probably gonna get the other one, right? But yeah, anyway, he is making use of the counter hit mechanic. In BN6, it increases your busting rank. The busting rank affects your drop after the fight. So it's basically a guaranteed chip drop from these early areas if he gets an S rank. So really important.
And also sometimes it affects the code. So for example, there on the let's say on the reflector chip he wanted to get an S rank so he can guarantee an A code, which has better folder flow because we're gonna have a lot of chips with A code. But if you get like a like say a 9 or an 8 busting rank, you'll get a C code reflector, which still opens the door, but then it would be very annoying to have in your folder later on because you can't really pick it with anything else.
Yes, folder flow is something really important in basically every Battle Network game. And in BN6, we use mostly an A folder with some D codes in it as well.
We will only put off-coded chips that are really, really strong by themselves, and we don't need to pick anything else.
Yeah. It's probably gonna be like what 3 or 4 chips that are gonna be off codes like M or whatever. But the reason that is because those chips generally just one shot any fight anyways, so you don't really need to pick anything else with them.
Yep. And now there's a fixed fight. Draw was not the best,
Unfortunate.
unfortunately. He's gonna have to
He was
charge
looking for a
shot.
sword, right?
Yeah, swords are really good on this fight, just because you can counter hit one of the viruses with the sword, which deals 80 damage and kills the virus. And you're gonna have double damage for your next chip, which is usually the crack shot, and it's also gonna kill the other one. So he's getting incredibly unlucky
Yeah, my
right now.
goodness.
So getting an encounter in this comp,
Yes,
I could be mistaken, but I believe it's a 1 in 16 chance.
yes, it's a one in
Yes, and then
16
failing
chance.
to escape twice.
Twice. Wow.
That is a 75 followed by an 87.5% chances back to back, which is
I'm I'm very sorry for him.
Oh, jeez.
I was talking to Jugoomba recently about how sub 210 would be super free for him if he got Train Arrow, but now I'm not so sure anymore.
yeah, with this like who knows what the game's gonna keep giving him at this point, but
Yeah,
Yeah, this raid with this luck.
it's one of the both fun and frustrating things about running Battle Network games, and I haven't ran all of them, but I believe it is the case in almost all of them, which is, a lot of times you're very dependent on getting lucky, or at least not getting unlucky.
Yeah.
And sometimes like the game can just give you bad RNG, and if you're trying to go for a good time, you can't get it anymore.
I mean, there are arguments in favor of RNG-based runs because, for example, earlier Battle Network games 1 through 3 can be heavily manipulated, and it does eventually make the run feel a bit more monotonous and less interesting to watch, and even to play.
Right now, Jugoomba is approaching the first dungeon of this game. It has a very interesting mechanic that
Can you guys explain me in detail how the firewall thing works and why you guys do that weird movement?
Yes. I might not know the exact numbers of things, but anyway, in this comp, everything's on fire, and at certain points, there's gonna be these firewalls, as you guys just saw. And what that does is that it resets your step counter. So, well, not exactly resets,
Doesn't
but
increase
it doesn't
while the firewall
increase.
is up.
Yes. So sometimes, as right there, Jukumba went a little bit out of the way just to get an extra firewall, so his his step counter wouldn't increase with the firewall. Yeah.
So overall, like just trying to maximize the amount of time we're running during firewalls, just because that leads to less encounters. Ideally, you would only get one in this comp,
Yeah.
which I think he got his encounter decently late enough that he's probably only gonna get one. Sometimes you could just get two, even if you have perfect movement.
I think there's a really small check at the end, probably just a 6% or something.
Yeah.
But
That
if you get a second
fireball.
encounter, if he gets a second encounter, he's gonna have a 75% run rate now. It was 50% before he picked up the HP memory. So you can run from fights in this game, and if if you're able to run or not is dependable on your total HP, and you can increase your HP with HP memories. And it was 50% at that time, and now because he got an HP memory, it's up to 75%. And hopefully, he's not gonna get an encounter here, but if he does, he has a higher chance of running away from it.
So another thing to note about the HP is um, there are subchips called sneak runs, which make you not get encounters at all as long as they're active. But the one case for that is that you have to have a 100% runaway chance in the area you're running through. So, for example, now that he has 120 HP, if you're running through central areas again, he could sneak run, and because there's a 100% run chance, he's just never gonna get an encounter in those areas specifically.
Yes. He's gonna use sneak run a couple of times in this run. Unfortunately, the run rates in BN6 are kind of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's only really gonna use that on central area, but it's helpful anyway. So he didn't get an encounter there. I didn't check if he got lucky with the firewalls, because even with perfect movement, I think you have a check, a 6% check if you get unlucky with the firewalls.
Because one thing we didn't mention with the firewalls is that the direction they go in are kind of random. Not exactly random. There is
Yeah.
some like I think it's like a 50% to go in one direction and then 25 in two of the directions, and then one direction it just never goes through. But either way, like, you want them to go to where you can hide behind the blocks and not get hit by the firewall, because that allows you to run more during the firewall, which means your step counter increases less.
Yeah. And now he's gonna face a Blastman, which is the first boss in this game. Draw was okay. He was hoping for mock guns. He had two of those really
Yeah.
strong chips against this boss. And basically, Blastman is gonna move 3 times, and on the fourth time he moves, he's gonna move to your roll and try to attack you. You can basically get a free counter hit if you stand behind that cube and use the reflector chip. But he didn't have another A code to go with it, so he just decided not to pick it up.
Those two swords. Nice.
Not the best fight, unfortunately, but I don't think we mentioned the folder edit and like the shuffling algorithm and the top
Oh yeah,
chips.
we might as well talk about it.
Yeah, so I guess with this game and basically all Battle Network games, the way that the game shuffles your folder every fight is actually not very good, and in a way that where a chip is more likely to show up in the same slot it is put in the folder when you draw it. So for example, like chip number 4 is most likely to be still in slot 4 after it's shuffled. So because of that, we generally put all the best chips that we have in the top 5 or 4 slots because we have a reg chip, and that will just make it more likely for us to draw whatever chips are more useful.
Yeah, it's a slight increase in chance, but we'll take it.
Yeah, it's not like guarantees it, but it does increase the chance by a relevantly decent amount where it does make it worth to take the little bit of extra time to move good chips to the top of the folder.
Can definitely be helpful in a couple of fights. So right now he's using Sneak Run, the item we mentioned earlier, so he's not gonna get encounters through this area. Very important. He did not forget gate key or whatever. I don't know. Key data. Key data. I'm sorry, I'm learning BN2.
Oh yeah. Oh, he was also mentioning he was picking up some breakups, which I believe is for copy damage, correct?
Yes.
Yes, it is for copy damage.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
we're
very
only gonna
important chip.
Yeah, we're only going to grab enough rig ups for copy damage, and after that, copy damage will basically be rigged for the entire run because it's just such a good chip for clearing encounters and forced fights.
So basically, we mentioned how you can drag a chip to have it always show up at the top. It depends on the chip because each chip has a small amount of memory it requires for you to be able to reg it. And you have a limit. So we're picking up key items like that reg up 2 he picked up earlier to increase that limit so we can reg a specific chip. In this case, it's copy damage, and you will see and talk about them and a lot throughout this run because we don't have enough. Mm-hmm. And now we're running errands, right?
Yeah, there's a pelican in the in the classroom right now. At least they think it's a pelican. But yeah, there's a penguin, and they need to feed the penguin. Penguin looks hungry, so they go ask the science teacher.
It's the science teacher for fish.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, they ask him what penguins eat, and he says fish. So now he tells you that his teacher assistant has some fish, so you go ask him for fish, and then the kid tells you that he doesn't have fish, but his grandpa has some fish. So now we're gonna talk to his grandpa to get some fish from him so we can feed it to the penguin.
So
What chips are we looking for on the fish box fight? Because we have garden reg, reflector reg. And we're looking for what? A crack shot, potentially?
Ideally, a attack plus 10 and either a crack shot or a cannon A. They both
He
work.
also has two Mac guns, which are both also decent chips.
They're both really good. And he drew one of them.
Oh, there we go. Beautiful.
And it moved down. Oh.
Damn.
Yeah, so I guess one thing we didn't mention is that viruses can actually counter hit you out of your chips, and that's what happened there. He started the attacking, but then the pufferfish hit him, and that knocked him out of the mock gun animation, and it didn't hit the other fish.
Yeah, we usually take an extra step there out of the pufferfish attack when using Makan, but I don't know, maybe he was trying to save some time because of the first split.
He knows it's a mistake. I'm pretty sure I heard that Sumimasen in there, as in a way to apologize.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that fight is another reason why we rag Reflector on the folder edit before Blastman, because it's a really useful chip against Blastman and for this fight. It's really useful for this fight.
And also for the next fight, the next force fight that's gonna show up, it's also kind of useful on it. So there's 3 back-to-back fights where Reflector is just good on. So
I wonder if it's gonna show us the cutscene a little bit.
I hope.
I hope so. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So now he needs to find out where the penguin came from, basically. So he's gonna look up on the net on seaside area. It's gonna be a new area. We haven't gone there before. And on the way, he's probably gonna pick up copy damage. I assume he does it now.
Pick it up
Yeah,
now,
he
yeah.
does it now.
It's 2 frames faster to pick it up here than earlier on the first
Yep.
time through. So
2 frames. In an RPG, depending on lag, we try to optimize our frames with movement. Great.
I mean,
I love it.
it's a 2-hour run, so
yeah, so the
if you're
movement does
saving
add up.
frames, yeah,
Yes,
it
yes.
definitely adds up.
I'm pretty sure Jugoomba actually wrote an entire guide of ball network movement in Japanese, which is great. I love it.
Probably he definitely does a lot of work on routing these games.
Yeah, for sure. Like he goes on live, he goes MIA for like a week or two. Then he starts doing runs super fast with his own manips, his own strats, his own practice
Yes.
things. It's great.
Also, let's see.
Ah.
Unfortunate. So, excellent draw there, by the way. He
Every
could take
chip works.
basically any
Yes.
chip.
For
there.
this fight, you just need any chip that you can pick with Reflector. So you can counter hit the first Meteor and kill it, and then with the full synchro on the second on the Reflector, that could kill both Meteors in the same hit.
Yeah, guys could probably see it for a couple of frames there, but there was a Meteor, the virus, with a plunger on its head. Amazing sprite.
Yeah,
It's
so actually
great.
the reason we went into the toilet is because the plumber lost his plunger and he couldn't remove a puddle of water without his plunger, so we had to go find it for him. And it was
On the
in our
internet,
own
by the way.
toilet.
Cyber water with a cyber
Yeah.
plunger, everybody. The
So-
VN story is a suggestion, really. Don't worry too much about it.
For sure. So we've mentioned Train Arrow before when he was trying to get Reflector to get past that first gate. And right now he's gonna try to get Train Arrow. Well, not try exactly. He's gonna take encounters for Train Arrow in this area because we don't have 100% runaway chance here. So Sneak Run is not gonna work. He's gonna have to take encounters anyway, or
I believe it's
risk
like
a
a
25%.
25% if you
Yeah,
run away
it's a
here, so
25%.
either way.
Oh,
It's a decent chance. Draw was good.
yeah.
This fight will have a 1 in 3 chance to give him the chip he needs. If he doesn't get it here, it gets a required chip, so we'll have to get it later.
Yes, so this is not only a chip that you need for a door, much like the one at the beginning, but it's also a very useful chip. Oh,
That is not the chip that
That
is
is not the
required.
one.
so we're looking for the one with the piranhas, the fish.
Probably gonna get 3 encounters.
This
though.
one is the best
Oh!
encounter to get it from. It is a
Yeah.
50-50.
The best encounter is a 50-50.
Yes. Unfortunate.
Oh,
Oh my
That is very
goodness.
unfortunate.
So unfortunately, we mentioned earlier how getting a higher rank will pretty much guarantee the chip. Well, it depends on the virus, and specifically, piranhas have a 50% at the best rank. So your best chance is always going to be a 50-50.
Yeah, that is definitely the main reset point if you're going for a PB or like a really good time.
Mm.
If you don't get Train Arrow there, then it's
since
basically
he didn't
just
get
over.
it there, I don't know which backup strats Jugoomba will go for, but it's either jacking into another comp and just forcing encounters until you get it, or in the next dungeon where you could skip encounters, he will just take encounters instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he goes for fish sticks right
Given it's a
before the copy
marathon,
bot. I'm pretty
I'd
sure
be.
that's what he does.
Mhm. That makes a lot. of sense.
So they found out where the penguin came from. It's from the aquarium in Seaside Town. So they went to deliver the penguin, but the aquarium was closed, I believe.
Yeah.
So they had
Something like
to
that, yeah.
return the next day.
Also, shoutouts to the super long animation of the lead bus.
Super useful on runs.
Oh yeah, if you ever need to scratch your nose, that long animation is a
Exactly.
godsend. So now we sleep.
And then it's also funny when you go to the wrong area accidentally and you have to sit through 2 cutscenes of left buses just, accepting how much time you're losing.
Yeah, it's the left bus of shame. We call it the urn. Because a very long time ago, whenever someone got a wrong left bus, they would get world record. Nowadays, impossible. No way.
True.
But so this is the Navicast. Would you guys like to explain it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
you go
go,
ahead,
go
Kumar.
for it.
So Navicus was introduced in BN3, I believe.
Yes.
It's basically something that you can use to customize to basically program Mega Man. You can add like more attack, add special stuff like a shield. You can basically add a lot of stuff, but there was just the tutorial for the Navicus, so you only get 3 programs that you can install. Well, you have to install because it's the tutorial. You get attack plus 1, which increases your attack level by 1. You get undershirt, which if you were gonna die, you are left with 1 HP instead. And I believe the other one is rapid
Charge?
plus 1 charge. I don't know.
Rapid.
You don't really use it.
So my understanding is now the charge shot deals 20 instead of 10.
Yes.
And it charges a little bit faster too. Yeah, it's charge plus 1.
Cool. Right. So later on, we'll be getting programs that are much more useful than just
Yes.
increasing your attack by 1 or charge shot plus 10. We'll be getting very important programs that allows us to do overall movement and a lot of interesting things in fights. I may be mistaken, but we're gonna use it.
Yeah. And now he just had to talk to everything because you do that a lot in BN6, and he just got the last reg up that we need in BN6 to be able to reg copy damage.
Yeah, so from this point on, he's not gonna grab any rig ups or any HP memories. Pretty much nothing or any Zenny in this game. Like you basically never need to grind or look for any Zenny or bug frags. So at this point, everything is set. You just need a train arrow and to just run through the game.
Yep. So it's funny because the moment Kumari started talking about it, Jugoomba also started talking about it. Yeah, no more rig ups.
Interesting.
So now everything escaped from the aquarium because a virus. Yep. Did they have like some colors or something? I forget.
No, it was like the guy who was, I believe, the trainer for the animals or something. In the aquarium, he was fired and he was trying to get revenge, and he just hacked the main computer and released all the animals.
Mhm.
And then the main computer, like for us to go fix it, is behind where that big seal is. But since it's in the way, we can't get there. So we need to distract it and get it out of the way somehow.
Did we talk about the copy bot mechanic?
I don't think so.
I don't
No.
think we did. Yeah, in BN6.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ellis.
No, go ahead. you know me at 6 better. Go
Okay, thank you. He's gonna do it right after he goes for the backup here, but you can see right there the yellow sprite thing there. It's called Copybot. In BN6, there's like new technology. You can just use your Navi in the real world, or bring your Navi to the real world, and you use your Copybot for that. Mega Man, he used that before to help out with the fires in the first scenario, and he's gonna have to use it again because there are a lot of. Oh, nice! He got it
There we
first
go.
fight. Game was just being mean.
Yeah.
Just really wanted him to jack into fish 6.
Show the backup strats.
Okay, he
Showcase
didn't do the
everything.
thing. So every BN6 runner has gone to that copy bot, activated that cutscene, and then left without actually talking to the bot again, which is what you need to do.
For a second when you mentioned that, I thought Jugoomba did it. Then I had to look closer. I was like, nope, that's Mega Man there.
Yeah. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but in fish sticks, every encounter gives you a piranha encounter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Every
piranha.
encounter is the 2 piranhas, so every encounter is a 50-50 to get it.
Yep. So you did. First try, pretty good. That chip, it is not only the one for the door, but it's gonna be pretty useful in the upcoming fights. Is it not?
Yeah, so the next 2 boss fights, it's actually very good to draw it on.
Honestly, even I think that he could be on a really good base if he didn't get unlucky on this first scenario, first split.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
even if he had to go for the backup strat for Trinero, it was pretty fast. So
Yeah.
it was just
Oh,
unlucky.
so we should explain this.
Yes.
So basically, in Val number 6, in here in this comp, we earlier were forced to talk to every single living specimen on the aquarium to learn about them. And now in this comp, you're supposed to match these little aquariums with the little procs that correspond to a living animal. And on the aquariums, they're giving you a description of the animal itself, right? Fish and whatnot. So in case you're as a kid, you forgot or you saved and didn't remember, you can go and change to land and go around the aquarium and to able to read that. Here's the thing, whenever you change to land to try to read that, it's reloading the map in which Mega Man is, which also resets his step counter, so we can essentially avoid every single encounter in this comp.
Yep. So basically every time before there's going to be an encounter, before the first encounter check, sometimes we take one encounter check to reduce the number of times we have to switch screens. You just switch screen, come back, and you never get encounters.
Yeah.
It's a very cool mechanic, especially because in here, I think you have a 25% chance to run away from encounters. So you basically have to take them because you can't expect to run away. And a lot of the fights are very annoying to deal with. There's some Quakers and just puffer fish that are just hard to kill.
Yes. In the first comp and in the third comp, however, there are piranha viruses. So sometimes runners, instead of trying to go for the fish comps backup, they would just run through these comps trying to forcibly get encounters to try to get the train error. That's the other backup strat. The comp 2 has like awful encounters, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't think come to, yeah. Maybe there is a chance to get a piranha, but it's very low. It's not even worth like trying in comp 2. You just
It's
skip
definitely
encounters
not worth
anyways.
it. Well, in the current route, we take 2 6% checkers, one in comp 1 and one in comp 3, right at the end, right before the next boss. Jugoomba got lucky and skipped the first. Well, not lucky. He just didn't get super unlucky
Yeah,
again.
he didn't get unlucky.
Didn't get the 6%. Wow.
Didn't get
How
the
lucky.
6%. Yeah. So yeah. Other than that, it's pretty chill. Really, really cool strat.
Yeah, especially since, as we mentioned earlier in VN6, like you basically can only sneak run through central areas. So this is like the only other area where we don't have to deal with encounters. All throughout the rest of the game, and like the other next coming up dungeons and all that, there will always be encounters. This is just the one break we get.
Yes.
Well, I guess we get one other break near the end of the game, which is even better. But we'll talk about that later.
Thankfully for us, by the time that happens, we're gonna get a massive power up, and the encounters, even if they happen often, we should be cleared super fast, usually in one
Yep.
turn.
Yeah, always basically in one turn.
Yeah.
So even if we get encounters later on, we'll have means to deal with encounters.
Yes.
So now for the last comp of this dungeon, he's gonna do the L button strat 4 times. L button strat is how we call this strat.
Yeah,
And
because that's
there's
how
gonna
you
be a
switch to land.
6%. Yeah, there's gonna be a 6% check at the end. And also, I don't think we talked about it, but the sharks have a specific movement, kind of blue, black, gray. I don't know. Sharks. They are slower and they try to follow you if they see you. While the red, orange, I don't know, sharks, they are faster, but they have a fixed pattern.
Okay.
And if they catch you, they eat the prog and take the prog back to where it was initially.
Yeah, so it's a big waste of time, basically.
Yep.
Thankfully, if you have the same movement, they will always move the same way. So as long as you know the movement, you will never really get caught by them.
Yeah, so there's basically always a specific route
Yeah.
they follow, what he follows.
Unless like you mess up once, then things can start being more weird because you're not used to what's going on. But in
Yeah.
general, like most runners just know they're out and never get caught unless like some obvious mistake happens.
Yep.
The strat in which you stop running and just walk is in pavilion comps, isn't it?
No, it's here.
Or,
He did it a
oh, it's
couple
here.
times already, where you just walk instead of run just to slow down your movement a little bit, so the fish end up in positions that you want them to be. Because if you go too quick, you will get caught.
Oh, full edit. Oh
There's the
my
percent that we're talking about.
Oh
That is so
my
unfortunate.
goodness.
He's gonna
He's
take it
trying to run
25%.
away.
And he
Oh,
got
he
it.
did.
Okay.
I'm actually
Nice.
surprised he went for it because he had a decent draw to kill it, but it's probably because there's already been so much bad luck. He just wanted
Yeah.
Minimum.
So
Let's go.
the ideal draw here is definitely train arrow attack +10. He didn't get it. He got a Makan is pretty
it's
good.
okay as well.
Yeah. So Diveman is kind of weird. His movement is well, it makes sense. It's just annoying because he
Great.
doesn't always attack. So he stays submerged for a good part of
Nice.
the fight, and he moves twice, and then I don't know, he goes up,
Yeah, he gets up.
and he might attack or not. I think it's like a 30 something percent
I
chance
think
for
it's a
him
1
to
in
attack.
3, I believe.
Yeah.
Also,
So if he attacks, he's counter hittable, and every fourth time he rises up, he does the tidal wave attack, and that is always counter hittable. But his torpedoes are always there, so you gotta always be careful to not get hit or get countered yourself by those torpedoes.
yes. Oh, you lose the full synchro and the 2 times damage.
I guess
Yeah.
maybe we didn't mention that, but if you have full synchro and you get hit by anything, you lose the full synchro.
Yeah.
Also, if I understand, there's some movement manipulation we can do because he'll try to avoid you. So
Yeah,
if you go to the same road,
so most bosses try to move into, or I think they don't move into the row you're in, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
try
like
to
let's say he's in the
avoid.
bottom row and you want him to stay in the bottom row, you go to the middle row and then he's gonna move forward or backwards instead of up because they always avoid the row you're in unless they want to attack you. For example, last man like only goes to your row if he's attacking.
Yeah.
So with that we can like it's a little finicky, but you can end up like kind of manipulating where the enemy goes, but not 100% guarantee where they're gonna go.
yes. So it's
Especially
like,
with Diveman, sometimes there's gonna be like a 50-50 if he
Yeah, because
goes.
it either goes like you want him to come to the
Yeah.
front to hit him with a sword, but there's a 50-50 for him to move up or move back.
and the torpedoes don't help either because if you want to use the full synchro and you want to be on this row, but there's a torpedo coming your way,
Yep.
it becomes quite hard.
It's like I would say it's what I think, and most BN6 runners agree that the dive man fight is the most annoying and probably the most difficult fight to do optimally.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah. Also, I just looked at chat and Jugoomba streams this from GameCube with the Game Boy player. So yeah,
Mhm.
he just uses the Game Boy SP as a controller.
Yep. So, anyone want to talk about Link Navis? As we'll be using them quite often.
Yeah, so basically in this game there are some navies that you can basically link with. So first you have to do a certain scenario to learn how they work. Then after that you can start either using them sometimes or with Mega Man linking with them so you can do like a crossover between the two. And there's only one forced one, it's the only one we'll take, which is the Heatman scenario. So this is story required. But after we beat this scenario, he will be able to use Heat Cross, which is crossing Mega Man with Heatman. And it's a very overpowered cross. It makes everything so easy. So after we get it, you're gonna see just how easily we kill everything with just Mega Man Heat Cross, and that's it.
For that, we need to do these force fights that we call the kettle fights. Obviously.
That is the main reason why we have crack shot on Rag right now.
Yes, the
Because
kettles can only be damaged by fire chips, and we don't have any fire chips in our folder. The only fire chip that we have is the one that Heatman always has. It's like his signature chip. And that chip I think does 60 damage, but you need to do 100 damage to the kettles. So basically we need a full synchro to kill the kettles, and that's why we got a crack shot so we can counter hit an actual virus, and then with the full synchro attack the kettle to kill it.
Yeah. Basically, all of these fights have been routed and they're completely scripted. If you know what you're doing, you will never mess them up, and they're pretty free, aren't they, Kamari?
yeah, definitely really free.
Yeah, the worst one to mess up is the one before this one, because as you saw in the last one, there were no other viruses, only kettles. So you had to come into the fight with full synchro. And that means you can't mess up the counter hit on the previous fight. So if you mess up the timing on the previous fight, you're basically screwed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the only other fire resource we have is the Hitman's Buster Shot charged, and it's awful. It takes a long time.
Because the kettles recover HP.
Ah, no train arrow. Damn.
Unfortunate. His drop was not bad though.
Yeah. So for this fight,
that
you
was
basically
unfortunate.
always want to draw a train arrow, because train arrow is a multi-hit aqua chip. So if you have full synchro, it's doubles the damage of every single hit, and because he's weak to it, it gets quadrupled. And it adds up really fast, and ideally you top deck it, and with another chip you counter, and then you kill him on the spot, and it becomes
So
like
ideally that would be a one turn,
fast.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for having a fight with actually I'm gonna let him do this trick. This is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
The get pause buffer strat, so you can kill the 2 meteors in the back before they hide into their shells. Wait, as I was gonna say about Heatman is I forgot what I was gonna say. Well, it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah. Also, for anyone that was wondering what was that trick, how was he able to defeat the meteor so fast? Basically, there's a cooldown after you use a chip before you can use another chip, but that cooldown keeps going down on the pause screen, correct?
Yes.
So basically, by using a chip, quickly moving forward and pausing, we can let the cooldown go down, so that as soon as we unpause, we can use the next one right away, and we can do that fight very quickly.
I could be wrong, but I believe like you could actually technically do it without pause buffering, but you have to be almost frame perfect or something. It is unrealistic to do
I think it's
like
like
as a
a
human.
1 frame window.
Yeah.
Does the
without
task do
pause
it?
buffering.
I think the test probably does it. I'm not sure, but it probably does.
Of course it does.
Yeah, so there's actually tasks for all,
Yo, the
maybe
best part!
most BN games, and they're always very impressive to watch just because of, being a task in a game like this.
For sure. Being able to manipulate every single encounter, not getting any encounter. Anyway, anyone want to talk about what Jugoomba is doing right now and what he's getting?
Yeah, he's
Irish
getting
spin
very
and
powerful
boomer.
right now. He's
Yeah.
basically getting a lot of good chips. Also, I believe he got Hackjack before
The
that.
dude.
The dude. But yeah, he's doing lotto codes. So these codes can be found like everywhere in the game, and I think even outside the game. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. These codes were distributed in like magazines, TV, even with the anime, were in the game, in post game. These were codes found everywhere, but they were set. So once you know them, which we know all of them, you can use them as soon as the machine becomes available, and we can get some really powerful tools super early.
So as
He's
an
gonna add
example,
them right now.
yeah. We're gonna see he added 3 chips, I think, which is M Boomer, Air Spin, and I think he got a LM Trap.
Element Trap. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he got the dude, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did not.
Rip.
And then he also got some Navicos programs, which were Buster Pack and HP plus 400.
Yes, both very useful, and that's the only Navicus edit he's gonna do.
Yeah, we'll
in
add
the
one more
artwork.
thing that we get later, but it's not gonna be like a complete
Yeah,
change. The things he put in now will stay till the end of the game. We'll just add one more program when we get it a little bit later.
and it doesn't even affect like in battles or how powerful Mega Man gets. It's a
Oh, yeah,
really
what
nice
was-
overworld thing that we're gonna
Yeah.
add.
I guess to
So-
mention, like, I think HP plus 400 is intuitive in what it does. It just gives you more HP, but Buster
Yeah.
Pack makes our Buster very, very strong. So earlier we said it does 20 damage, now it does 50, and it charges almost instantly. It's maybe like a 1 second charge time.
But
Basically,
that's not what we wanted. Thing is, now that we can use Hit Cross,
Yep.
that Buster Shot also gets affected by Buster Punch.
Yep.
Not.
yeah, so with Heat Cross, he's gonna be doing 130 damage. And it's gonna charge like almost instantly, so really, really good.
And for those that have not seen the how the Hit Buster is, it's on a straight line, 3 tiles, so it can multi-hit enemies that move through it there, or it can just multi-hit 2 enemies.
So basically what's just going to happen later is, so you attack one entire row with it, and then you copy damage another enemy in another row. So almost every fight ends up becoming potentially one-shottable with just Heat Cross, which doesn't require you to draw any good chips, doesn't require you to do anything. Just Heat Cross, copy damage on reg, and you kill anything.
And another good point of Hit Cross is that we got Mega Boomer. Mega Boomer is a chip that goes around the stage and it makes the stage have some grass panels. And if you use a fire attack on top of grass panels, fire attack gets double.
Yep. And then the
So
chip in
we-
itself does, I think, 170 damage, and then plus the double damage. Drawing that is going to be basically what we want in every boss fight, and also most just normal fights. And Boomer is potentially the best chip we have, or maybe Airspin, which
Yeah,
does.
considering Heat Cross and Boomer is probably the best one.
So those those two chips combined with Element Trap are just too good that it can finish the fight by themselves or make bosses faster, and that's why we picked them. Even though we have an overpowered cross with copy damage and reg, that's why we picked.
And another thing is, LM Trap is also star coded, which generally just having more star codes is better because you can just pick it with anything. Especially later on when we start charging null chips, which we will probably explain very soon when we get the beast out function.
Yep.
It's also a null chip, so it's just a great pickup.
Now we're doing Soul Weapon.
Yeah, what
Woohoo.
what Jugoomba is doing right now is probably now one of the most entertaining parts of the run. There are these evil spirits on the internet right now, and he has as they call it, soul weapons to deal with them. And basically there are 3 different evil spirits: the red one, the yellow one, and the blue one. Red one takes one. The red one takes 1 hit to die. Yellow one takes 2, and blue one takes 3. But they all die from 1 hit if they're hit from behind. So yeah, they're always in the same spot, and
Yeah, so it's
I don't know. It's
basically
basically the same thing all the time.
It's basically a puzzle level in which you have a limited amount of weapons with different ranges, and it's always the same. So we have them routed out and they're scripted to go as fast as possible. Unfortunately, that is as fast as we can go. It's still a bit slow. So that's the part where you just leave the runner do it, and you go get a coffee, and then you come back and you see the fun run. Thankfully, it's over for now.
A little bit. There's still going to be more evil spirits coming up in a little bit, but
Yeah.
3 more comps.
So do we have some donations?
Like, it's really, if you think about it, it's a cool puzzle. It's not bad, but after you do it like 500, 700 times, it gets a little bit boring.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any like you could be very tight and clean with your movement and like mashing through the text boxes to be faster, but it doesn't have any satisfying movement similar to some of the other comps that we go through.
Yeah.
So it just
Yeah.
feels like you're just running in a straight line, using a weapon, running more, using a weapon.
But it is relevant because I remember Rish, another top runner of this game, comparing against Goomba at the time and being like losing up to like 5 to 10 seconds due to basically sole weapon movement.
Mhm.
So it
I
is
think it
quite
was
relevant.
mostly menuing than movement because every
Yeah,
time you try to use a soul weapon, there's a little bit of delay and you need to do inputs for the weapon of your choice basically. And if you know the timing, it can be really really fast. And you can definitely lose time if you mess up just a little bit.
yeah. Like if you delay half a second or a quarter of a second every weapon,
Yeah,
you'll end up losing a good amount of time.
it definitely adds up because it's like 6 comps.
So
So,
that's the infamous door, right?
yes, exactly. That is what we needed train arrow for, the chip that he had to go for the backup strat. It's literally just to open that door. Well, no, it was super useful against Heatman, but
Except we didn't see it against
yeah,
him.
we didn't see it. It would be super useful. But anyway, we got it, we opened the door, and now more evil spirits.
Yep. Fortunately, there's not much more to say about this part of the round.
The only thing about this comp is make sure you don't take these conveyor belts there because
Yes.
they push you to the other side and you just have to run back around.
The walk of shame. I'm pretty sure World Record had that mistake at some point.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway.
pretty sure Rish's 21130 had that.
Also, as you can see, we're talking about 211.30 world record. That was really impressive at the time. And now Jugoomba is grinding or attempting to guess 205 or a low
Low
205.
205. Yeah.
Yeah.
Current
So
world record for this game is 205.42 by the one and only Jugoomba.
so it's been pushed down quite a lot.
Initially, it was pushed down a lot by Rish, and then pushed down even more now by Jugoomba.
Yeah.
So here we have a gauntlet.
Yeah. A crack shot is really useful for this gauntlet. We
Isn't this
just
gauntlet pretty much scripted?
yes, except for the last fight. Well, last fight too, but if you draw good chips, you can do it faster. But yeah, basically we just chain full synchro in in these fights. We get full synchro from the first one and use it in the second and get another full synchro. He didn't draw anything good there, so he's just gonna get another full synchro and finish the
It's
fight.
sad because he actually drew good chips in the other fights where you don't use them. So in the other
Yeah.
fights, I think like using M Boomer is technically like a very, very small amount of time faster, but that requires you to actually think, which probably makes it slower at that point than just doing the muscle memory.
And also, you wouldn't be able to change full synchro like that if you're not used to like how to counter hit
Yeah,
boomer.
you need to be
Yeah.
prepared to like know how to counter hit with M Boomer, but also select it almost instantly. It's definitely just not worth it to look for, except for the last fight where it just kills the fight much quicker than counter hitting and then using another chip.
The Piranha can also troll you if you take Emboomer because it can move to the middle in the first
Mhm.
fight, and Emboomer doesn't hit in the middle. So yeah, it's just better, more consistent, and still pretty fast to go for the
Yeah.
scripted fights.
Also, what are we looking for in this next fight other than M Boomer?
Oh, Emboomer, Air Spin, Attack plus 10 is pretty good. Buster Up, it's actually decent.
So also air shot works.
Air Shot also works, yeah.
Basically
But
anything that would allow you to do 20 extra damage or
Yeah.
one of the good ships that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Because just with the base ships that we have, we can kill everything except for the gunner, and it lives with 20 HP, and you just need something to finish it off.
Yeah. You need a little extra.
So there's a lot of good options here, but let's see if he gets any of them. Yep,
Yes.
that works.
You got a couple. So you bait the Metroid to attack, then you attack the gunner in the back and get a free
Beautiful.
counter hit and kill everything.
Yep. And now that's it's Circus Man, Clown Man. Wait.
Yep.
Circus.
Can someone explain this flame puzzle?
Which puzzle?
The soul weapons, I believe. Someone asked
We
in chat.
explained it earlier.
Yeah, we explained it a little bit earlier, but you have 4 options of soul weapons, and there are those evil spirits, and they're always in the same position. And red one takes 1 hit to die, and yellow one takes 2, and blue one takes 3, and you just gotta kill them all with your soul weapons, and it's always the same thing because they're always in the same position. Also, this is super broken. Beast out.
Oh,
So, earlier we mentioned that Mega Man can cross over with other net navis, but he also now can cross over with the Psy Beast, which is, since this is the Gregar version, you can get the Gregar Beast out, which allows you to charge null chips and deal 200 damage with them. That's like one of the uses. And then it also it gives you like a stronger buster, chips deal more damage, they auto target. It just makes you overpowered for the time that you have it up.
yeah.
Yep.
It's almost as overpowered as a cross, and it will be used in a few fights, mostly when there's aqua viruses on the final boss. But it does have plenty of uses.
So now there's this coming up boss is Circus Man. Basically now that we have Heat Cross, every boss just dies. So I guess I'm just gonna let you see how strong it is. There's not really much to explain for this fight.
That crash shot saves us a cycle.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Also,
That's been 6.
that is just super powerful. Also, you might have noticed his HP going down. He did the Navicus edit back there, and he added HP plus 400, but he bugged it. So in BN6, you can actually put your programs outside of the area. You can only do that in BN6. And
Yeah, it's never explained either.
yeah, you just have to figure it out. And it still works, but it gives you a bug. In this case, Jugoomba has HP bug. You can basically choose between HP bug or buster bug for this run. It honestly is more of a matter of choice, of preference, really. He currently goes for HP bug, and I believe most runners go for buster bug.
Yeah, I think most people do Buster Bug. So Buster Bug actually only affects the pellet shots, which is just, not even the charge shots, and we almost never use them. The only time we use them is like, let's say an enemy lives with 10 HP and you don't want to charge, you can just, shoot it with 2 pellets. So it's barely used. It's probably almost never used, but it's just nice to have in case you needed it. Especially if you think you're never gonna die, so the HP bug doesn't really affect you at all.
Yep.
Although unfortunate incidents have happened having HP.
Yep. So it could definitely can kill you, but I think Jugoomba is just confident enough that losing, I don't know, is it like 1 HP a second or something? It's not a big deal.
And I do expect him to save before Gregar just in case. I will
I don't
see.
know, but I hope he saves before the freezer fight, the air conditioner.
Ooh, yes. So basically, now we're doing a series of side quests that all lead up to the finals. Basically, there's this new event, this new convention, right? On town, they are deciding or choosing who's gonna be the Navi that's gonna be the main event, right? The one that's presenting it. So for that, there's a series of events and mini tournaments and such, which are these we are doing right now. Yeah, hopefully that was explained properly.
And
This
there
one is
was
like
an
a hide and
unlocker.
seek. You have to find navis that are hidden in different comps in
There
the
was an
game.
unlocker in that comp, and since he had to go for the backup strat for Train Arrow, he got it earlier. But that's gonna be used to get another very powerful chip later on. Question from chat. Like, why are they talking about choosing bugs? Like, do they want a bug or just they want more extra power up with resistance on the bug? It's because we don't have expansion memory right now, so we can't really fit in everything without getting a bug. So that's why we have to.
We really want
pick,
it, mainly because we don't want to edit it ever again.
And also, yeah, like in general, because we have, I think the Buster pack has 3 like length, height, and then HP plus 400 has 2, so you need 5 total length, and we have 4. So if you just have one of them go over the square, which is, as Kumari was mentioning, is possible in BN5, you just never have to like think about it. It's the only way to really fit them into the Navi cost. So if we don't have a bug, we would have to pick between HP plus 400 or Buster pack, but we need both.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about choosing which one to put outside the area, because we're gonna need a bug no matter what. So that's why we choose bug. Like either or, they're really not very relevant.
Yeah, they don't really affect the run in general.
Why not use compression codes? They don't really help in this
Yeah, they don't
case.
compress them enough. And even if they did, that requires you to take the time to input the compression code, which, you know, might as well just skip it because, again, the bugs don't affect us really negatively in any way.
True.
I just realized it says Shinji for truth. Oh, so
yeah.
folder 2, go for it.
Last folder edit, basically, he grabbed Black Bomb with the unlocker, and now he's gonna remove a lot of stuff, and we are basically gonna have a folder with only A codes, D codes, and a couple of extra codes, but which are only 1 chips, and they're really powerful chips, like Black Bomb, Airspin, and Boomer. They can all just 1 turn clean encounters by themselves, so you don't really care that much about their codes.
From what I've seen, double crack shot can have its uses, like there, actually.
Yes.
Double crack shot does 120 damage, which if you can also chain it with full synchro, that's 240, which is enough to kill most viruses.
So basically, as we mentioned earlier, for a long time, the main strat for BN6 speedruns was to just heat cross as much as possible and just clean everything with heat cross. But currently, we are taking more chips and trying to avoid heat crossing or even beasting out because that requires an animation, and animation loses time. So we are trying to use more chips, and double shot or double crack, whatever. It's a really powerful chip and really useful, especially if you can chain full synchro in gauntlets, for example, or between fights. It's really good. It's just a free 240 damage with full synchro.
Yep. For newcomers, though, we recommend turn your brain off and heat cross.
Yes, it's just a very safe bet, and it's one of the reasons why BN6 is probably the easiest battle network game to get into. It's just like after you get heat cross, just it makes every fight trivial. Like as an example, he's gonna use it here, and you're just gonna he is gonna triple delete all the enemies here. Yep,
So
that simple.
it's the game basically follows the logic of very easy to learn but very hard to master because there's so many
That's part of
tiny
the reason
optimizations.
is not using heat cross.
So we we know we hyped it up, But he wants to go fast.
He's gonna use it for bosses anyway.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the reason why he didn't go for Buster Bug is because, as an
Yeah.
example there, if he had Buster Bug, the Buster could have jammed. It doesn't always jam, so you can still use your pellet shots. It's just it has a chance to jam up and not shoot anything. But as an example there, he just used it to clear up an enemy with 10 HP left.
Yeah, but Buster Bug also has a chance of just shooting a full power Buster, 50 damage. So
if you actually are like let's say a task, Buster Bug is actually useful because your pellet shots can start dealing 50 damage instead of 5. I think it's something that used in BN5 a lot in the tasks where you just get Buster Bug and you just start bustering everything down, like, and it just dies.
That's crazy. I love it. Basically, Jugoomba's not willing to gamble. He goes for the safe bet. He's losing HP, but that's his safe bet in terms of.
yeah, I think he only died because of HP Bug once, and according to him, it was not even HP Bug. It was
Yeah,
just
it's
a
he
misplay.
played poorly. That's why he said on Twitter. Yeah.
Shoutouts to Erithar.
Like it's crazy because every day on Twitter I see him posting about some minor thing he's been working on, or he's been practicing on, or he's been timing.
Yeah, it's just a very
Very
dedicated
impressive.
runner. So we kind of skipped over the story a little bit.
What story?
Exactly.
It gets pretty fun here.
It's always just a virus anyway.
Oh, I mean, I do like talking about the tree that judges people.
Yeah, so I think what's going on now is that Dad got arrested, and we're wondering why. It's because the judge tree, there's like a judge tree, which it's a tree that just does all of the like basically all the prosecution and decisions. And I think the tree decided that he did something wrong. I can't remember the exact crime, but now we're trying to prove that Dad is innocent and get him out of jail.
Oh, I think the crime was that Dad was trying to mess with the software of the judge tree, and he was trying to hack it or something.
Yeah.
But he was instead working at the school doing some repairs or something. So we need to prove that by doing fun side quests and stuff and going around and fetch quests. My bad. Not side quest. We wouldn't be doing those. What is this, Greg SP?
I wish. But yeah, now he basically has to find an alibi for Lan's dad. He knows in the time of the accusation, his dad was at school, so he couldn't possibly be hacking the judge tree, right?
So we come ask our teacher if he knows if her dad was there. And fun part, the teacher says, "Oh, you mean that one old man or something like that?" And Lan gets upset about it. But yeah, so he says he thinks he was working in the class. So we're gonna go back to the class and look through the security camera to see if we can find the footage of, the camera showing that Dad was actually in school.
But no, someone laid a trap. What?
Yep.
Well, spoilers for 5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, so we go to the terminal and there's a virus in it. And in fact, it's corn. There's some corn that broke the
Corn Fiesta!
corn and an eye.
I love the fact that the corns are such a meme nowadays.
Cop jam.
In fact, isn't there a mod or a hack that turns every sprite into corn? Anyway,
Either way, we find out that the footage of that day was deleted, but there's like the main comps where everything is stored, I think. I don't know why they're stored somewhere else. But if we go, we're gonna go back to the first dungeon that we were in. What was it called?
The
Robot
robot
control
control?
com,
Mobile control com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which will have the footage, I think, of the robots.
Yes,
Yep.
because the robots have cameras on the right, right?
And they're also already here, so we're gonna use that footage instead to show that Dad was in school.
Man, I really hope Jugoomba gets to do lurk and skip today.
You wanna explain that skip later, Lurkin?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, you have to come on. It's
The
Lurkin
biggest
skip.
disappointment is that I thought of that idea.
But yeah, we are talking about a skip in the upcoming dungeon. We are approaching the third dungeon of the game. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Circusman didn't really have a dungeon.
Yeah. Third dungeon, fourth scenario, main scenario, fifth,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know, but yeah, third actual dungeon, which is the judge tree, which what we're talking about, the tree that makes the decides on the law and everything. And of course, as you would expect, it's been hacked and it's making wrong decisions, or someone is influencing what it does. So obviously, Dad was getting electrocuted there. We don't really mind it. We're just gonna go on.
You're telling me that if I let a tree run trials, it can go wrong?
Yeah. Oh, another thing is, yeah, all of these like punishment bots are going crazy, electrocuting people. I don't remember the exact details of what's going on, but there is that little cutscene of them running around Central Town.
Yeah.
It's just funny sometimes not remembering the details because you just see these like small stupid cutscenes and you're just wondering like what exactly is happening.
Yeah, you see robots on fire, a metal with a plunger, robots electrocuting people, Mega Man jumping like in the middle of the air or something. Out of context, Mega Man is quite something. Also, that door does have a set passcode. And even if we know it, we do need to talk to the person that gives this to us anyway, which is what we just did.
Yeah, so earlier we paid a guy, I think it's 1,000 zenny, so he could make us lawyers, and now we're lawyers or law students maybe.
Yeah.
And we
Lawyers
asked
in
the one
training
guy
or something.
for the password, and he is like, it's 153. So we just have to go back and input it. That's M Boomer that we mentioned. It just kills everything.
That's a boomer. Sure is.
So in this comp, you every tile you step, there it's gonna grow grass basically, and you can't step on the grass because in Greentown, in Green area, everything has to be according to the law. So obviously it's against the law to step on the grass, so you can't really step on the grass. If you do it, also there's a relatively high chance that Jugoomba gets to do lurk and skip. But anyway, if you step on the grass, there's gonna a gavel is gonna come and try to grab you and take you to the start of the dungeon again. So yeah.
What you?
Oh,
Oh,
he's gonna
he's
have
still
to
gonna
do
have to
it
go for
anyway.
it, but he did
Yeah.
get the encounter. So, as Kamari mentioned, there's the gavel that chases you, and when it's chasing you, you can't get encounters. So over there, since he almost didn't get the second encounter, what he was gonna do is grab that tile and then step on the grass and finish off the screen without getting caught by the gavel. Because he can get
Wow.
very scary there, and he can almost catch you.
He
Wasn't
didn't
he
even go
supposed-
for the HP memory setup.
Yeah.
So there's a setup where when you grab the blue mystery data, the gavel gets confused or something, and he like goes around you.
It's a very consistent setup, but Jugoomba just went for it, and it worked out. That was lurk and skip.
Yeah, it was lurking because I came up with the idea of us doing that, but before I came up with that idea, there was people did the similar thing in this comp, and that's basically been a thing for a long time, and it is called Celine Dion skip. I don't really know why. I think no one
Same.
really knows why, but this is Celine Dion skip where you just also avoid the gavel similarly. So
The one and only little fat kid named that skip. Shout
yeah,
out
Fat
to
Kid
little
named
fat
it.
kid.
Why did Fat Kid name it that? Is I think is the real mystery.
I think he explained it once, but I forgot. And so here's Judgment. He unfortunately doesn't have any attacks. The programmers forgot to program any attacks for him, so he just kind of
just moves around and gets hit. So again, really, like, to be serious, he does have a set pattern where he attacks every third move, but if you attack him, it's gonna knock him out of the attack. So we just basically keep counting, like 1, 2, 3, and then he's gonna come to the front and attack, and then basically just repeat. And there's, I think every third attack he moves twice and then does another attack and from the back. But it's again a very set pattern, and we just know when he's gonna attack and hit him before he does it, and counter hit him out.
Yep. We don't give him a chance. Yep.
So he needs to go to a new place now. It's called the Sky Town. But before that, he's gonna get a very, very important upgrade in Seaside
Oh, it's
Town.
time! Let's go!
Yep.
So basically, throughout the run, we went out of our way to do these quizzes. Earlier we did a quiz with a little kid, right? And now we're gonna go do another quiz with 10 questions. And here, this time the reward is a very important Navicast program called Slip Runner, right? Could you guys please talk about it? Thanks.
Yeah, so Slip Run is a Navicast program, as was mentioned. And what it does is it gives you two things. So where you wouldn't have to hold B when you're running as Mega Man, so you can only just by default you run around. But the real reason we use it is that if you press B, it lets you slide, and Mega Man just basically slides all the way until he hits the wall. So it makes him move faster, and also makes you get less encounters. And then there's also another thing we can do with it called Slip Walk that is not going to be used for a little bit, and we can mention it when we do. But it just makes Mega Man, in the internet, run a lot faster.
So even though we don't have the best run rates from encounters in BN6, we have some stuff that can help a lot with encounters. Like Slip Runner, for example, reduces significantly the amount of encounters we get during the run. It definitely helps, and we get really powerful. So even if we do get encounters, it's not exactly scary anyway, or even slow for the most part. It's usually just super fast anyway.
Because generally you get you get an expected amount of encounters in areas. So some areas you expect one or none. You don't usually get a lot more. Maybe there's a couple areas where you can get a crazy amount of encounters, but in general it's kind of consistent.
Yep. That's definitely one of the things that make BN6 one of the best BN speedruns, especially for beginners. So we just went through a town that had a judge tree, and now we are in another town. It has a computer that controls the what is it called? The weather, right?
Yeah, basically. That's Weather-kun, or Mr. Weather, I believe.
Mr. Weather, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the comp's name. But yeah, so earlier on, I think we were mentioning that you were doing kind of some side quests for the big event that's going on. I think this is also related to it, where you're gonna have to prove that you can do net battling. So there's gonna be 4 gauntlets of 23 total fights that he's just gonna have to do, almost back to back. So this next section is basically just doing back to back fights over and over.
Yeah,
I think Mario would probably be able to most explain what's going on, because he's optimized doing these fights a lot.
Yeah, I really like this this section. So back in the day, we tried to use heat cross for most of these fights, but nowadays we're trying to just chain full synchro and use other chips. Like for example, he didn't transform a single time during this gauntlet. He just used chips, and it was a pretty fast gauntlet. So you're basically gonna be looking for M Boomer, Air Spin, Double Crack, sometimes Black Bomb, but that requires a transformation in some fights. You can throw Black Bomb on top of a Fire Virus and it just explodes everything. So it could be really useful for this fight, for example. Unfortunate. He didn't draw anything good there, so he just had to heat cross. This fight is a little bit annoying anyway to do with some of the chips. But anyway, he's just gonna be looking for good chips. There we go. He got air spin. And he's gonna make use of copy damage a lot. He's gonna most of the time he's gonna copy damage one of the viruses and use a chip on the other one and try to get a counter hit. I think he had enough there for
It would have been with full synchro.
He had attack plus Vulcan 2, attack plus 10, and a crack shot. He could probably counter hit and hit with the crack shot, but he just got lucky with the draw on this one.
Yeah.
This fight
This
can
is
go
one of the
really,
harder
really
fights in
bad.
general because
Yeah.
there's two pulse balls which you can't attack unless they're open, and they're only open when they're attacking you, so it can be very tricky.
Yep.
But,
So again, just going for just optimizing the fights. Most of the time, most runners are gonna see that fight and just take heat cross, which is not bad, but it adds an animation, which loses like 2.5 seconds, something like that.
around there.
Yeah, between 2 and 3 seconds. So if you're able to take chips and recognize that really fast, which Jugoomba is really, really good at doing, you can save a lot of time. Like there, for example, no good chips. I feel like Gauntlet 3 is probably one of the worst, if not the worst one.
Yeah, so Gauntlet 3 is also 5 fights. It's Gauntlet 4 that is 10, but even though it's 10, I feel the Gauntlet 4's fights are generally a little bit easier. Or some of them
Yeah.
are.
I feel like after we began trying to look for chips and use more chips, instead of crossing or beasting out, Gauntlet 4 became the easiest, probably. Even though it's 10 fights, fights are really good, and you can usually just easily chain full synchro and get done with the fights really fast. Also, there's a
Double
really cool
hit.
setup that Jugoomba found for one of the fights in Gauntlet 4. I hope he gets to use it with the starfish.
Oh yeah, I love that one. But yeah, overall, these gauntlets have been really good. He's gotten a lot of good draws with air spin, and when he didn't, it was also very quick. These have been going extremely well.
Yeah, they're an absolute joy, honestly.
So some of these might look simple, like, oh, we're just using a chip, but just recognizing like how to use it in each fight optimally is actually very difficult. This is just one of those splits which could just lose so much time to compare to like very high level runners just by how optimally some of them can do things.
Oh, that's unfortunate. There's a really cool setup you can do in this fight with double shot, double crack, whatever. But he didn't draw it. And it's not only about cleaning the fight, but most of the time it's also about chaining full synchro. That's also really important.
Yeah, because the more you have
It's like
full
right there,
synchro, the more you can use chips, the less you have to full cross, so the less animations you spend.
Exactly.
Yeah, like as an example, this fight, yeah, if it was me, I would have instantly just heat crossed, but he recognized that like air spin with full synchro and copy damaging one enemy just works. It's like these small things that require a lot of quick decision making.
I believe a lot of runners would beast out in this one, probably.
Yeah, I also always beast out that one.
Yeah, it's so annoying. But he just, like, it's nothing.
Yeah, I think he hasn't used beast out once, which in some fights beast out is quicker, but
Wait,
like,
you can do that?
Yep, definitely.
that one I haven't seen. Counter hitting with air shot into double crack.
That's why he currently removes all B codes. We used to leave B codes and remove air shots, but currently we are just removing B codes and leaving air shots in
That's
for
probably why I
free
never thought of it. But yeah, I think most people do take out air shot.
Because Airshot, by
Really
the
good
way, does have
gauntlets.
a air element to it, so you cannot charge it when you're in
That's the main
mode.
reason we take it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
ちなみにヒートクロスは各パネルごとにダメージ判定があるので突っ込んできてくれるウイルスに関してはとて
Pretty
で
good
もなんか
gauntlets overall.
ダメージ与えられる
Yeah.
That was actually, yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is faster than, like, most runners' golds for this split, just because of how good
Probably.
those fights were.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
pretty sure it was a sub 10 actually. Sub 10 split.
Ooh,
I mean,
damn. Nice.
I'm not sure if Rish has also gotten a sub 10 in Sky Gauntlets before. I'm not sure if it's just Jugoomba and I, but
So
I
this
think Rish has
coming
done it
up
too.
area is probably, like, other than getting trainer or something, this is one of the worst RNG parts. Because Mega Man just got, I don't know, knocked out. Something happened to Mega Man. I don't remember exactly. But
Yeah.
basically, you have to use Heatman to go save him. And Heatman doesn't have Slipwalk, and we're gonna have to walk through a very big part of the internet, which means we could potentially get like 6, 7, 8 encounters, or we could get 0 if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And
If
that is just one of those parts where, like, if you run a good pace, this is what decides if you're gonna live or not. Just how many encounters you get as Heatman running to go save Mega Man.
you start counting as you go. Because the thing is, for Link Navis, that when you're using another Navi, they have a set amount of HP. And usually it's okay, but you cannot increase it in any way. So you're mostly stuck with the garbage run rates that we already mentioned.
Yeah.
And you don't have hit cross. So if you
Yeah.
don't top deck the good chip, you're trying to run with not a great chance or taking some not ideal.
I believe it's a 50-50. It's a 50% chance to
So
run
there's
away.
one encounter that you could get here, which is 100% chance to run away from.
Yeah.
So if he gets one here near the end, which he didn't, that one would have been a very
Nice.
quick runaway. But in sky areas and undernet, it's, I believe, a 50-50.
Also, question from chat real quick. Are there any moments where Beast Over is useful? Not really.
Yeah, Beast over now.
Beast Over is
This
not exactly good.
it's actually
Unfortunately,
surprisingly how bad it is.
yeah.
Another thing about Beast Out is that it requires you to use up all your Beast charges, which most of the times we have 3, so that requires 3 turns for you to Beast over.
That could happen in Falzer, because in Falzer we don't have... Falzer is the other version, he's doing Gregar. Falzer is the other version. That's really unfortunate. We usually skip the encounter in Com 2 there in Sky 2.
Yeah, at least he's gotten good draws, so the fights have
Yeah.
been just instant one-shot.
Yes. Is Gregar the faster of the two versions? Yes, Gregar is the faster version.
Yes,
And
because
unfortunately,
heat cross
there
exists.
yes, basically because of heat cross and
The
both
scenario.
the cross and the scenario actually.
Yep.
Heatman scenario is much faster than Aquaman scenario. Or, sorry, Spellman
Aquaman, you have
scenario.
to run around more, and also you have to go fishing, which is slow, but killing the kettles, if you're, if you had the good setup, as we saw Jugoomba did
Yeah.
earlier, all the kettle fights are basically like one turn and instant kills. But if you're doing the fishing scenario with Aquaman, you have to actually run around seaside areas. And it doesn't matter how good of a folder you have or how good you are, you just have to do the movement, which is slower.
Yeah.
You know how much slower? Is it like 3-4 minutes or something?
What?
The scenario differences between He-Man and Aquaman?
I'm not sure because some of the time
Oh yeah,
you
because
get
you
it
do
back
the
in
auto
the circus,
fights.
man, because you do door fights before.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure, but I would say Gregor, the version itself, it's like around 4 minutes faster than Falzer currently.
In the grand scheme
And
of things, it's not too
yeah,
much, but it does remain to be faster, and I don't think anything could change that.
Yep. This is the
also I mean,
scenario. Like, even if you get optimal draws of just M Boomer
yeah.
for all the rest of the fights, the scenario itself, fortunate.
Also, I wonder if Jugoomba's gonna go for the Black Bomb strat if he draws it. Very interesting that he jacks out there. I believe it's faster to just slip to the warp unless you're like really fast with your inputs.
Really short Taz.
Yeah.
So this next up, a bunch of appliances here are going crazy, and we're gonna have to delete the viruses that are breaking them. But this next one is actually one of the scariest fights in the whole run. There's strong viruses, they're water viruses, you really can't heat cross, and they can easily kill you. So as you can see, it's his first safety save.
Actually, saving. Okay.
Yeah, because this fight, like, even generally the strat is like, just beast out. Oh,
He's gonna do it.
He's going for it.
you got
Nice.
it. Okay.
Very nice.
So since he heat cross and all of those are aqua viruses, and there's a fan, if he gets hit by the bubbles, he almost instantly dies.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, going for Black Bomb is fast, but it's super, super risky strat.
If they
Because
would you and you cannot hit the black
Yeah,
bomb, you eat all
exactly.
3 bubbles and you're left with so little HP. If not, you're dead. Speaking of water viruses, that's also a fight. That's why he took Beast out instead.
That was a pretty unfortunate draw. Usually you get 2 chargeable chips there.
Yep.
You only got 1 and 2 air shots, I believe.
Yeah, thankfully, the Beast Out Buster is very strong, so he killed that 120 HP pufferfish in probably a couple seconds.
So also that was why we were arguing earlier how some runners do take out the air shots instead, because he just charged.
This fight can be really annoying because the movement is kind of random from the old stoves. So yeah, sometimes you can get really trolled there. That's why even though he drew M Boomer, he still decided to cross.
But he mentioned
The best draw there would be actually Black Bomb, because Black Bomb, as Mari mentioned earlier, breaks when you attack or pops, blows up when you attack a fire virus. It can instantly just kill all of those.
Oh, that's unfortunate. He went for the very hard strat there. In this fight, we usually go for heat cross, but there's a really hard strat you can do to do a faster fight with Beast Out. But it's really hard. It's like frame perfect.
Oh, that's why he mentioned frame perfect. I was about to ask why did Jugoomba was about that. Frame perfect.
Yeah.
There, that explains that.
The Beast Out strat there's frame perfect. I don't usually go for it.
Yeah, no wonder.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna see the next dungeon in a while. And we're gonna see Slipwalk for the first time.
And I actually did it a little bit during
True. We just
during
didn't
Sky Gauntlets,
mention it
between
again.
Gauntlet 1 and 2.
I was not sure if it did there. I don't remember from his PB or if it's just
Yeah, no,
going
he did
for
it this
the
run, but
known
we were
corner.
explaining the
Yeah.
gauntlets. We didn't like really explain slipwalking.
And also we're gonna meet the real villain of this run, which is the Typhoon.
Typhoons are bullies.
Yep. Yeah, so as I mentioned here, he's gonna talk to that prog while slip running, which means after he comes out of the the conversation, he has to slipwalk, where it's like he's not slipping, but he has a slip animation. When you're in that state, you can't get encounters. So he uses sometimes to mitigate encounters, and yeah, that's pretty much the only reason for it, just minimize the amount of encounters we get.
Yep. We need to be careful because there's some stuff we can do with Slipwalk that can soft lock the game.
Yeah, you can soft lock. So one thing where I think it's going through any warp while in slipwalk makes you soft lock, which has happened to pretty much every BN6 runner at some point. And then another thing is in the JP version only, which obviously Jugoomba is playing on, if you get any item, so basically if you do it off of mystery datas, if you do it off of anything that gives you an item, you also soft lock.
What was that?
Perfect circle.
Typhoons, man. Typhoons. But yeah, there are 3 comps, and we usually hope to get only one encounter, or if you're really lucky, no encounters. And all of the comps, like not one in each of them, but one for all the comps. He already got one, and in the Japanese version, because you can't really slipwalk here, in the US version, you usually slipwalk from a green mystery data down there. He unfortunately got a second encounter because of that. But yeah, in the Japanese version, you have a higher chance of getting an encounter in this particular comp, just because we can't really slipwalk here. We would soft lock the game.
This is like the main disadvantage with the JP version. I think JP version overall is still faster because of less text boxes. But in this comp and one other area later, which in the other
Yeah.
area later, it's still RNG, but you could skip like a couple encounters because of slipwalking off a green
Oh,
mystery.
that's unfortunate.
Oh,
So we mentioned typhoons are bully. That's the reason.
Typhoons,
You have
man.
to like, put a circle of rainbow macaroni around it, but sometimes they just want to hug a wall and you can't do it. And they end up knocking you off the cloud.
So yeah, the Japanese version is faster, but on average, the US version can be faster because you need to get a bit lucky, a little bit lucky with the Japanese version. The fastest runs currently were done in the Japanese version, and it saves a lot of time. Well, not a lot of time, but a lot of time in speedrun. It saves a lot of time with text boxes, but also since we can't really slipwalk in a couple of areas, you just have to slip run. And if you get lucky and don't get encounters, it's just faster because slipping is faster than slipwalking. Slipwalking is just running speed, and slipping is faster than that. So if you get a little bit lucky in the Japanese version, it is just straight up faster.
It
Just
just
not
forces you to go for the
yeah,
optimal in best case scenario strats.
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
the race call them.
There are strats, yeah.
Goodbye, Element Man.
Man.
There he goes.
Unfortunately for Element Man, he, oh, as the name suggests, he controls the elements, I guess, and he can change between the elements. He starts as no element, and unfortunately for him, the first element of his choice is
Grass.
yeah.
Grass and then fire. Because if he cross, he just dies.
So yeah, goodbye, Element Man. Now, what Jugoomba is doing is the last part of the those side quests that we mentioned earlier for the expo convention thing.
That's a quick thing. We call them side quests, but they're mandatory. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just like a thing that's going on throughout the run, but it doesn't really have. Like, it just kind of happens every here and there. It's a recurring mission based quest. Which now I think what we're doing is we're trying to find an item in the internet called the Moonstone. And I think we're supposed to figure out where the Moonstone is, and the first one to find it wins.
Luckily for us, it's always in the same place, but we know where it is. But before that, is it money hat time?
it is.
Cool.
Yeah,
Before
the
that-
Moonstone. Yeah, go ahead, Elf.
No, before that, there's this yet another door. In this case, however, we do not need a chip, but we need a password. So we need to figure out who had the password. It was like a previous delinquent. So we're gonna talk to that guy taking care of the prisons, and now we're gonna go look for a girl that escaped. Well, not escaped, paid herself or whatever.
Yeah. Now
And the
she's
password is money hats.
Yep.
Money hats is the password.
Anyway, you were saying, Kamari.
I was just gonna say the Moonstone is in the undernet, and people are not very friendly there, so that's why you need to talk to people and try to find out the password. But this is also a kind of RNG heavy scenario if you're going for like a top 3 time or something like that. because you can get a lot of encounters here, or you can just get no encounters and save a lot of time. So yeah, I believe Jugoomba didn't get any encounters so far. And
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten
also,
any encounters in this scenario yet.
there's another difference from Japanese version to US version right now. That was what Lurkin was talking about earlier. This is the other area. When he goes over to Undernet 2, he was in Undernet 1 earlier. When he goes over to Undernet 2, he there's a BMD that we can slipwalk off, and that usually helps us skip one encounter, or maybe even two if you get lucky before. And
Yes, and the unfortunate
Undernet
part
2,
about it is that the BMD is a little far, so you're likely
yeah,
to get the encounter before you even get to it, so you can slipwalk. But in the case where you get to it before you get the first encounter, you can just slipwalk and then get to the end without any encounters.
and unfortunately you can't really do that in the Japanese version because you would just soft lock the game. So
It
Jukumba's
doesn't mean
just
that you
gonna,
have to get the encounter. You could still skip it if
yeah,
you're lucky enough in JP.
yeah, he's just gonna hope to get lucky. Well, he got one encounter there.
So even if he was able to slipwalk, he wouldn't here because he still didn't even get to the blue mystery data. It's after the next turn.
And so even if he got the encounter, can I just mention how clean his movement has been?
Yeah, his movement is really good.
Yeah.
It's always a joy to.
Definitely.
One of those things where movement might look like it's simple, but there's actually a lot going on and how to optimize it.
Yep.
And it's probably
At
one of those
least-
things where like only people who ran games like notice how clean it is.
Yes, for sure. And even more so on an SP.
Yeah.
Like,
It is a really good controller once you get used to it.
yeah. I don't know why I'm agreeing. I've never actually tried it. You know.
It just
But
looks too
yeah,
small.
yeah, it is pretty small. It is pretty small. He got only one encounter from Moonstone, which is pretty good. I mean, now there's
Interesting.
the second half of the scenario.
So we got the Moonstone. We won the contest, but now we're gonna go to ACDC Town to visit our old friends. So, if you've played any other BN game, you should know ACDC Town and not Central Town as being like where we live. But yeah, so now we're just gonna go see our old friends Dex, Mail, and Yai. Let's have a good time before the next bad thing happens.
Yep.
As is tradition for battle number 6, we're gonna talk to everything and everyone.
True.
ちょっと大人の事情には触れないでおいてあげます。だけど全員に話しかけると今度はナビ同士会おうということで、秋原町のホームページ
So in which game did the layout of ACDC Town change? Was it in 4?
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't 4.
So yeah, I bought the school. What I like to say.
Turned it into a singular room when you walk into her house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just reminded me of something that I was thinking about before this run, which I will contact Kumari about later.
all right.
So remember when we said every battle number 6 speedrunner has soft lock?
Yes, I was gonna mention that. This is
Go for
probably the area that most runners soft lock on, because he got the encounter there. So I don't know his strat specifically, but usually when I get an encounter, yeah, he does the same thing. When I get an encounter before getting the item there, I just don't slip walk. But if you don't get an encounter before getting the item there, you can talk to the prog and do slip walk. And you need to remember to slip run again before going into the warp there. Basically every BN6 runner has soft lock that way.
And then every VN6 runner has the fear of accidentally slip walking into roll there and then walking
Yes.
into the into the warp without realizing that you're in slip walk.
And now he just did slip walk. He can still soft lock, but he's not gonna do it today.
Do we have a clip of Jugoomba soft locking, or did that not happen?
I don't think we have a clip, but
It's probably
and I'm
happened
not sure if it
sometime.
happened. It
Right?
probably happened.
Probably in practice, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah. Okay, that was a
Jugoomba is
flex.
really Jugoomba is like really good, but he probably has one of the silliest mistakes overall. He has died to a lot of fights that I've never seen anyone else dying.
At least it's never
Well,
died to bathroom splits.
Yeah, that is true. That just
good old fat
truly
kid.
amazes me. A lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, I know, for sure. Jugoomba is just a
Oh, that's
fantastic
unfortunate.
runner. With respect.
That's a 6% there.
I like how
So
it pushes the
He just
plane.
pushes it back.
yeah, he got 3 encounters so far in the split. 2 in the second half, which is ACDC plus Sky, and now Internet again. And the first part, which was like just Moonstone, he got 1 in that part. So 3 is
What's
kind
up?
of above average already. So let's hope he
And
doesn't
then
get
generally here
more
in
encounters.
the last screen, you're also likely to get one. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate.
So what you see here of Kamari counting encounters and how well they went is how you get top runs and top times. So if you're really grinding for a world record and you want to beat this man on screen right now, you're gonna have to be counting encounters like that and hope you get really
For
lucky
sure.
and are really good.
And I'm trying to figure out if he's gonna be able to get us up to 10 here. I don't think it's gonna be possible, unfortunately. He's getting
Wait,
like
what was that
average or yeah.
crouch?
He just basically tried to guess where Blastman was gonna move.
Oh, to save a cycle. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
So again, as we mentioned earlier, is he won't move into your row unless he's attacking. So it was like a 50-50 if it's up or down. And you can't really react to it because he moves fast. So you just have to, hope he moves into where you guessed he will.
So the torpedoes are in fact aqua typed. So they will in fact, if they hit you, drop you out of your hit cross, like just happened with the wave.
But generally the strategy is like heat cross as much as you can. As soon as he pops you out of it, beast out, and then I guess just kill him.
yeah.
It was mashing A so fast, the cannon came out even if it was dead.
If you get a
Nice.
really good draw there, on the first turn, you can just beast out straight away.
Yeah, because if you get what, 4 chips, that's already 800 damage, right? Done properly.
With charging. And then if you do counter hitting stuff, it could be more. With like actually like perfect draw is my guess.
So for Vulcans, right? If you get a Vulcan 3 and you have full synchro and you're beasted out, it's better to just use it instead of charging it, right?
No.
No?
Oh, yes, it is. You mean Vulcan 2, right?
Vulcan 2, yeah.
Yeah, Vulcan 2. It is definitely better to use it. It deals 180 damage without full synchro. So it's almost as good as charging, because charging does 200. So with full synchro, it does 360 damage, which is
You can see
quite a lot.
the base damage increase of beast out on null chips. It can be really crazy.
Yep, so now Mega Man was kidnapped, lost-ish, and our teacher called us over to Skytown to talk to us, and he's gonna tell us that he's actually been the evil bad guy all along, and he's gonna tell us where to find Mega Man because he feels bad or something. I think he just feels bad, right?
Yeah, something like
And he
that.
just tells us
Guilty.
where to go find Mega Man to save him.
Also, I think this is one of the. I don't know. It's definitely not one. This is not one of my favorite splits or scenarios of the game.
Also, shoutouts to not Elecman scenario.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I guess earlier we were talking about how we all hate evil spirits because they're slow. Well, there's more evil spirits in this split. And then other than that, it's just a lot of back and forth. to get to the next area. Like, it's going to seaside, sky area, walking between central areas a couple times. It's just a lot of walking around, and then Evil Spirit, which is more walking around. Just
Yeah.
nothing happens in the split until the final 2 fights in it.
So after 8 minutes of walking around and dealing with evil spirits, you have 2 fights, and if you can save time on this or not, on this scenario at least, just really comes down to your draw on the first of those 2 fights. Because on the second fight, you can actually do something really cool, which Jugoomba will definitely show off. So yeah. But yeah, I don't think he's gonna be able to get a sub 210, unfortunately. I think it's
Definitely still within the estimate, though, of 215.
oh, for sure. Probably looking at a 211 or 212 right now, which is still an amazing marathon time, by the way.
Especially given what happened in the first play, where I think he basically
Yep,
lost 2
for
minutes from what he
sure.
would like on just the very first 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he finished Blastman close to the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, it was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually you'd expect a 10:30,
Yep.
probably a 10:15 if you're in a really good time.
That was like a Beast SP Blastman time.
Right.
So now he's gonna head over to a new area called the Underground, and we're gonna see more evil spirits there.
Yay, more soul weapon.
But thankfully, there are 2 areas of evil spirits instead of 6 this time.
Unfortunately, they are not more interesting in any way. Maybe doing them is, more challenging as a puzzle or whatever, but watching it's the same thing.
Yeah.
As a puzzle, I'm seeing casual players really struggle with the second area, and myself.
Yeah, the second
But
area
what?
actually, even with optimal attacks, I think you're left over with 1 weapon or
Yeah.
something. So the next one you have to actually be very good with your decision making.
I think you forgot about the yellow one there.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if it's a new strat that I didn't know about or if he forgot about it,
I
but
think you
he did
just
forget
forgot.
to kill 1 weapon. It won't make a big deal because this is not area 2 and you have a lot of leftover weapons.
To be fair, he's fully running and fully commentating himself. It's kind of impressive, really.
Yep, for sure.
I
It's
think
just
he
a new
already
strat,
knew, he
apparently.
forgot because of how he walked. Or maybe it's faster than walking right
Yeah.
and then walking back left.
Well,
Because
keep an
it
eye out
definitely
on.
saves an animation, by the way.
Yeah, it might actually just be faster and something you recently figured out. I am not sure.
I mean,
Check
you
Oh,
out
we
might
his
used
be.
to
full
kill that yellow one
attempts.
with a spirit gun from the very beginning of the screen rather than from the other side.
You still end up with 4 soul weapons there, so it's probably just faster because you save an animation. You don't have to walk up there at the start, even though it's just a little bit, but and there's no extra inputs for soul weapons. Very nice.
Also,
Very,
horizontal
very
movements,
nice.
which we don't like.
Yep.
Just like that. Here in the West Wiki became a little bit faster. No, so Jaguma right now is talking about countering the upcoming fight when he uses Thunderbolt stuff. Oh, I said the Mega Man on Beast form.
Yeah.
So what draws exactly are we gonna be looking for in the next fight?
And Boomer.
Where's the best? Yep.
Yeah, I've seen the counter, the double hit, right?
You can
Try-
triple hit,
You can
actually.
technically triple hit as well and just one-shot him with it, yeah.
Oh,
But I think it's very difficult and probably some luck involved in getting a triple hit. Double hit is just normal. Like you're expected
Yep.
to get it if you have it. And then each hit is doing 340.
Yep.
So, yeah, that'd be like 680 damage. But
Like
yeah, if you
other
don't draw
chips-
any of like the 3 or 4 strong chips that we have, this fight just
Yeah.
takes so long.
Exactly.
Air spin is good.
Airspin is decent. Unfortunately,
also-
he didn't get a start code to go with it.
an annoying thing is whenever he comes up, right, to do a swipe, how does it exactly work when he does 2 swipes in which he can counter or only 1 swipe? Is
So
it
when he
like
does one
chess?
swipe, yeah, actually not counter hittable. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
And in order to recognize if he's gonna do 1 or 2 swipes, you look at the tiles like in front of him. If it flashes right away, he's gonna do only 1 swipe. If it takes a little bit, like a couple of frames to flash, then he's gonna do 2, and it's counter hittable.
So this is what we mentioned earlier as a cool strat. You can actually
AI loop.
it might just
kernel.
kill him before we can see it. Yep.
Yeah,
We can actually get him
unfortunate.
stuck in an AI loop where he keeps doing the same attack over and over again and you keep hitting him. But with M Boomer, it just does so much damage and then the grass styles make him take double damage for, 2 or 3 heat cross attacks, which just kills him.
Yep. And Boomer
Also shout outs to
crafted
Colonel.
pretty fast. About level 5 Colonel Cannon. Anyway.
So we are approaching the final stages of the game. So he just needs to go to the undernet now and just do like 5 fights, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure it's 5 fights.
Yeah,
PN6
it's
runner,
5.
by the way. So yeah, he needs to do 5 fights. The third one is really scary, actually. I believe most runners have died to that
Yeah,
fight.
it's the other fight where he's probably gonna save before. There's like 2
Yeah.
fights where you usually always save, which is the air conditioner fight where he did the super scary strat, and then the third fight in this coming up like gauntlet, I guess. That one's gonna have 2 puffer fish and a pulse bulb, which means heat crossing is bad because there's aqua viruses. And then if you don't get any good draws, you have to kill a lot of enemies with a lot of HP on them. And they also do a lot of damage.
And pulse bulbs are just annoying by nature.
What about the bees that come afterwards?
The bees are fine, you can just
Yeah,
heat
it's
cross.
actually you can die if you get hit by the kettle. I think if you get hit by the kettle, you instantly die.
Yeah, you
But
instantly
it's
die.
very easy to not get hit.
I mean, you can also die to the bees if you're low in HP because they hit really hard.
Yeah, because you take a lot of damage from the previous fights, and then the next fights, even though they're not scary, you're probably gonna be on like 1 or 2 hit, and then that makes them scary.
Really good draws so far.
Nice.
So I'm expecting to see him save before the next fight.
Yep.
He's not risking it for the sub 210. It's still possible. Oh, he's
So,
going for the
this
black
is
bomb.
a very scary draw,
Oh, wait.
and he gets it.
Nice.
Not for him,
Nice.
though. Not for him, of course.
Yeah, so again, there's aqua viruses and heat cross, so those will do double damage and will knock him out of heat cross after, so he just wouldn't have anything else left to really deal with them.
So usually in this fight, there isn't much we can take besides just heat crossing. Because the bees have really high HP. And the kettle movement is kind of weird, so...
Black bomb is funny because it actually also blows up if it hits the kettle, so we generally just throw it in the middle. But
Yeah.
if the kettle happens to walk into the middle, it just pops and then we save a charge shot.
Really nice fights overall.
Pretty solid. And for some reason in BN6, whenever you want to read a post, BBS post, you start from the bottom.
Yeah.
So you gotta scroll up.
In 80% this is the only time we have to read the BBS. We have to go to it before, but we don't actually read it. It's just like a cutscene reading it.
Yeah. And resetting because you don't have train arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, after doing those fights, Jugoomba just needs to like talk to friends and go home and do stuff like that before actually getting to the final boss rush.
So it is
Final area.
another talk to everyone, but then this time everyone is not in the same room. Everyone is in a different area. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little bit of just running around the overworld and then the internet.
I hope you like 7-second loops. What's it?
True.
Let's see, yeah, 7-second loop.
Oh yeah, so earlier when we were in ACDC, we were not only catching up, but we were inviting our friends to the big expo that we were doing like those side quests, fetch quests mentioned earlier. Finally about...
Yep. And we also have to invite our friends, and that's why when he went to do those fights, he got the warp there.
So now we're invited. My bad. Yeah.
Thankfully, we're gonna do worse BN5 version.
That is 100% correct.
So this is a live representation of how emails work. So when you send emails to your friends, this is what happens.
True.
One we've all seen so far in this run.
Oh, he called Virus Master Glide, David, in
Very
Japan
nice.
stream.
Very nice.
I didn't expect that. So what are the odds of getting an encounter when you run into Glide?
I don't know, I mean, it's just a 50-50.
I don't know exactly, but it's not uncommon.
Yeah, it's
Because
Because
definitely
you
not
can't
uncommon.
check out or talk to people on Slip Run, so over there he had to leave Slip Run to talk to Glide. And then while leaving Slip Run, that means you will get one encounter check.
And usually a lot of people have gotten it over time, right, as people run BN6. And eventually he was called Virus Master Glide.
Yeah, and he was very kind to Jugoomba this run.
So,
Also the 7-second, 9-second loop, I'm not sure.
yeah, something like that. 8 on average.
Yeah, true.
8 on average.
Exactly. The soundtrack is really good for these games, but unfortunately this one is not one of the best.
I think it's a great song. It just should have been a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, mainly because you're forced to be here for a while collecting this.
Hey, it's better than post-game BN6. We have to listen to the panic music for the whole time.
Yeah, unfortunately, being Battle Network 6, if you want to do post game, you're stuck with panic music. What did you say, Mr. Greg SP runner?
Gregar Speed is just a superior category. The 100% category for Battle Network 6.
So whenever you accomplish a bunch of things, a secret form of the final boss will unlock, which is Gregar, but Gregar SP. So that's what we're talking about. Don't worry about it.
So now he's gonna do the final boss rush, the final areas. Is just gonna be like the same dungeons that we done earlier in the run. Not exactly in the same order, but
We're gonna do this the aquarium comps again. Unfortunately, we can't do L button strats here, but we generally don't get an encounter by slipwalking instead.
yeah, so there's another difference here between Japanese and US version. in the Japanese version, here instead of slipwalking right away, because in the US version we slipwalk off of a GMD right at the beginning, and we can't do that in the Japanese version. It would soft lock the game. So instead we just slip run towards the first prog and hope to not get an encounter, which he unfortunately did. But yeah, I think Sub to 10 is officially dead now. But anyway, now after the first prog, he has to slipwalk from talking to this prog, which is slower than slipwalking from the GMD. But actually, the Japanese version is still faster because, well, if you don't get the encounter, of course. It's still faster because you just don't slipwalk right away and you slip run at the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, slip
It's really
run makes you not
unfortunate
get
that he got
encountered,
the
but it's
encounter.
just slower movement.
Yeah. Just really, really unfortunate that he got an encounter there. Unfortunate. He's gonna have to slipwalk again.
So if you touch a wall, it will break. Well, it's basically you'll stop. You will lose slipwalk.
Yep.
Be back to normal.
So there's only one prog left. And the next comp after this one, it's gonna be Judge 3 again. And remember those two skips Jugoomba did on the original Judge 3? It's gonna do an even cooler skip here.
You've seen Lurkin skip? You've
seen that.
Yeah, that's a
you're
very nice
not?
strat.
Yeah, he can. He did it. So you've seen Lurkin skip. You've seen Celindian skip. Get ready for a gobble.
Yep. Probably the coolest trick in the game.
It's definitely like everyone agrees. It's just the coolest part of the game, both doing it and seeing it. But so this is gonna be in this next comp. So in the previous comps, we triggered the gavel near the end of the comp. In this comp, we're gonna do it throughout the entire comp because we can't get encounters when the gavel is chasing us. So at the very beginning, he's just gonna step on a grass tile, and throughout the whole comp, this little guy is gonna be following him around.
Just enjoy, really.
It's a very nice strat.
The way the bait of it. Basically, the gobble is trying to predict where you're going, so it's based on the direction you're facing. Right?
Yep, very nice first try. So
Let's go.
if you get too far, that's why Jugoomba waited there, because he was too far from the gavel. If you get too far from it, the gavel is gonna try to like predict where you're going, and he's gonna try to like cut movement and zoom into you, and it's gonna catch it. So this is usually the main mistake runners end up doing on gavel skip. They just go too far.
Judgment got attacks.
They fixed them in the V2 virus.
Yeah, these are all powered up versions of the bosses.
So the next comp is Mr. Weather comp again. Really not much going on here, so there is a chance to get an encounter that has a nightmare virus in it, which can only take damage from swords, and we don't have any swords, so we have to run away from it with a low runaway chance. But thankfully in the JP version, you're much less likely to get that encounter than in the US version.
Yes.
The reason is because the JP version has more areas, so some of the encounters in English version that cut those areas get distributed to other places, and Pavilion Cup 3 is where some of those nightmare encounters end up. Right?
And also the typhoons here are even more of police than the other ones in the other. Like the other ones were pretty bad, but the ones here usually are much worse.
Unfortunate.
And he failed to run away, so.
So can wait until up to 3 turns, because 3 turns usually is almost guaranteed, but isn't there a glitch that sometimes won't let you run away at third chance?
Yes, I think if you fail to run away 3 times, then you can't run away for like 3 more turns or something.
Yeah.
So basically, he needs to get the runaway next turn. Which he did, okay.
Good.
Still, pretty bad. Like you never want to get that encounter, especially on the JP version.
Yeah, even more so when you're about to finish a run. If you manage to get a run this far, you must be on a really good pace, and if that happens, it's really
And
devastating.
also there are
Yeah.
fights that has the nightmare, but also has like the what is it called, like mech tank encounter viruses that are very scary. So here you had
Arc
a helicopter or whatever it's called. It was easy to kill and then you're fine. But
Yeah,
the other fight, like you can actually die to if you have to be in the fight
definitely.
for 3 turns.
So, unfortunately for Element Man again, he still chooses wood as his first element. So, man, this is really this is a sub 210 in my heart already.
Just subtract 1 minute and a half from the time he eventually
Yeah,
gets. Because that early game.
And at this point 2 minutes because he got the virus and the nightmare virus.
Yeah.
It should not happen. So the next area is supposed to be similar to the very first dungeon, but instead of just having to turn off Mr. Procs that are burning, you have to fight viruses.
Yep. And it looked like the soul weapon virus. The what was it? I forget the
They do look
yeah.
like soul weapons, but at least
evil
they're not.
spirits. Yeah,
The evil spirits are back, but it's just
but not
virus.
really. Yeah.
Yep. That was a really tight strat that Jugoomba went for there, going for the boomer first and trying to copy damage the heat dragon before
And he's like
uh
saving here.
hitting the metro
Yeah, so this
on
next
top.
fight has a candle. Candles can be scary because they can't take
Yes.
damage from heat cross. And they also can do a lot of damage, so you're gonna have to beast out
Yep.
here and then do charges.
No, that's it.
I wasn't expecting him to save there, but
Yeah, it is surprising, but it's better safe at this point. Also because
for
in these
sure.
comps, all these firewalls, he's tanking and they each do 100 damage, so you end up being on relatively low HP in some of the fights.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like over here, if you had a bad previous fight, you could be like 1 or 2 hit away from dying.
He's gonna fight Circus Man after this one, but fortunately it's just impossible to die to Circus Man, so
Yeah, no one's ever
Yeah.
he's
died
safe.
Circus Man.
I don't think he's gonna get clapped. He's probably.
Nah, it's literally impossible to die to Circus Man.
I'd say that, but I feel like every runner at some point has died to the Circus Man V2.
Not
Because he
really.
attacks faster and you have to move a little bit differently than the first time. Like you have to just be quicker with dodging his collapse.
Yeah.
And then when he does the 10th attack, if he does it 3 times instead of just once. Which is also easy to dodge, but it can't do a lot of damage if you get hit.
It pretty much kills you. It mainly because you take a lot of damage from the firewalls. So they're encounter.
Yeah, so this should be a 211 if everything
Not
goes
saving
fine.
before the final boss, which
Oh,
is safe bet. Like it's a relatively safe and easy fight as long as nothing goes disastrously wrong.
So anyone wanna explain heat beast heat?
Heat beast.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
Go
go ahead,
ahead.
Omari.
So basically, Gregar is really big and has 2 hitboxes. So he's gonna heat cross first and abuse that by getting the hit and double hitting Gregar twice with the Buster. And after that, he's gonna beast out and do heat beast for the first time in the run. And he's gonna charge chips, and that's gonna do 400 damage to Gregor because it's gonna hit both hitboxes. So it's a really really fast fight. If you get M Boomer, it can be even faster because it's gonna take extra damage from grass panels. So yeah,
Yeah. So the only thing that really matters in this fight is like, do you draw and boomer turn 1 or not? If you do, you have. Oh, okay.
yep.
I guess that. No, that's still enough damage. He didn't get a good draw there, but it was enough to kill. So that
And
is the end of the
time.
run. Sub
He
211.
even saved, so sub to 11. Great.
And that's
Which
the
we'll
run.
say is an insane time for a marathon, especially given all
Yeah,
the things that have happened. Like the level that he played on was crazy good. He's done very, very few mistakes.
for sure.
Yeah, he played
But-
very, very well.
Yep.
It's just he got some unfortunate.
というわけでエンディングですか。まあエンディング流してもいいんですけど。
So yeah, that was a great run. I don't know if
is-
he's got some extra content or
I
something.
think he might have some content.
Yeah, probably does.
So there is a tradition, Battle Network speedruns, and I really hope it's what he's going to go for here, which it looks like he is.
Yeah.
So, I
Uh,
mean, he did finish in the rest of it, so.
Yeah, definitely. It was an amazing run, considering like he lost 1.5 minute on the first split, on the first 12 minutes. That should have been like a 10:30 and not a 12-minute split or Blastman scenario. But yeah.
If you're wondering what's going on here, even though the run is ended, Jugoomba is going to check into this comp, slip walk off of this Mr. Prague. And you know how we mentioned the soft lock that could happen?
Oh, he's saying goodbye beforehand.
いやそういった理由で、まあ一つの節目のタイムとしてそこは切りたかったって感じです。まあ結構やらかしもありましたが、全体通して大きなミスなくいい感じに走れたんじゃないかなとは思っています。基本的に速いと言ってますが、どれだけ変化を避けつつプレイ水準を下げないかといった問題なんでまあその時は本当に今回の日じゃなく変化運は良かったです。もちろんトレインアローや
Wait, what's it doing right now?
He's talking about how they run, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
He's talking about misses. No, I was mentioning Train Arrow.
Okay.
He's basically doing overall recap, as far as I can understand.
なんでやはりそれ以外の世代の人にはちょっと馴染みの薄いゲームとなっているので、これを機にちょっとロックマンエイズの動画を見たりプレイしていただければ幸いだと思っております。また残念ながら差も少ないので少しでも走ってみたいと思う人が増えたらなと。
So if you would like, please do watch some Bollywood speedruns videos or play it yourself and stuff like that. We also encourage anyone that's watching to pick up this game. Battle Network 6 is a great, fantastic Battle Network speedrun to pick up. We have the Team Battle Network communities open to anyone. So please, by all means, welcome.
So if you're interested in the run, just,
And
get into
there
our
it is.
Discord. There's a lot of people loving to help. But yep, that's the soft block. Mega Man just stands there on the warp. Can't do anything. That's the end of the run.
Bye-bye. He said
That's it.
goodbye with his hand. And that's it. Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot
for
for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Enjoy the rest of the marathon.
Yep.